Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is perfect timing, which is also kind of radical trust. But what we're going to be looking at is that when we can, if we can, allow ourselves to lean into the perfection of things unfolding in their perfect time, in their perfect way, what could be very different? How could our lives be different? Good morning, Rosalind. Happy Friday. To you too. Before we get started with today's topic, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating and electrifying all your cells, all your molecules, your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms just to feel the deliciousness of that sensation, the tickling, the tingling, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you on this Friday. Another week has just blown by. It's amazing. So today we're talking about perfect timing, which is a concept, obviously, but the concept of perfect timing is kind of allowing that things are unfolding as they should. And when we can lean into that notion of things unfolding as they should, and the perfection of that unfolding, what we're really looking at is a larger trust for things beyond our knowing, and that we're part of something bigger just unfolding. And in that awareness, what happens when we do trust, when we do cultivate that radical trust, what happens is that we get to relax, we stop resisting. And when we stop resisting, we have more energy to live and to maybe become aware of possibilities and opportunities that might not have otherwise been visible to us if we were trying to go against the tide, so to speak. So where did this come from? Well, last night I didn't have the greatest night's sleep. And so I allowed myself to sleep late this morning and kind of, I didn't know if I was going to make it here on time. And then I just started thinking about perfect timing. And I was able to get my self together enough to be here and just in time, in perfect timing. So I've noticed that in so many situations in my life where I've felt like I was running late, or that things weren't unfolding at the pace that I would like, which I'm sure I'm not alone in experiencing that. When I can presence myself to that allowance, to that place of trust, and well, to that place of trust that it's all perfect, and so it's not just perfect timing, it's all perfect. And even though it may not feel that way at all, even though we might be going through a profoundly difficult time, when we can allow for the perfection of that experience, then we can stop resisting it. So um, I guess it's kind of a loop, where the trust loop here, where we have trust that things are unfolding, or we allow ourselves trust that things are unfolding as they should, if there's such a concept, like that there's a should about how things are unfolding. But when we can allow ourselves to be with life as it is, it gives us access to what's possible. In other words, when we're present, we can be responsive to the possibilities. We can, as we relax, literally, our view can expand, because we're not in this kind of fear-based driven, narrowed vantage point. I know it's interesting, because when we talk about focus, the thinking, at least for me, when I think about focus, is a narrowed field, right? And I'm just going to put my attention here, but we can apply gentle attention also, where we can have a soft focus. And if we have a soft focus, I think it allows us to be putting our attention on something, but without the hard edges of the that I'm just going to call resistance. Sometimes when we think about focus, it's kind of like a hard discipline, and narrow focus. And I know that if I can hone my focus, that perhaps I can be more productive. I can get something done if I just focus on it. But I don't know if you have this experience as well, but I have the feeling of discipline and kind of strong arming myself. Whereas when I think of soft focus, then it feels more expansive to me anyway, where I can put my attention on something, and I can still have awareness of what is around me, the feedback that I'm getting from around me. It's interesting, and I don't know that this is a segue that actually, I don't think that there's a real segue here, but I was just thinking about last night, on Sustainability Now's movie night. We showed the gut, our second brain. And we've been talking about modes of perception. And I think there is a sense of timing too, like an actual way to sense timing. I'm playing with that idea, but what was interesting is how the gut, and it never occurred to me that the gut appears very similarly to the brain. The gut and the brain have sort of a similar physical appearance, and the gut has billions of neurons in it, and is processing all kinds of information, creating more serotonin than the brain creates. And I'm wondering if this sense of perfect timing is something that resides kind of in the gut, along with our gut feeling about things. And I really recommend that movie. If you can find that movie, I can't recommend it more highly. It was awesome, like truly, truly awesome. And very, very informative. It's called The Gut, Our Second Brain. I know you can find it on Gaia TV, but somebody found it on an archival internet site also. And it's a phenomenal film. So much information, kind of mind blowing, and talking about how, and this might connect with what we're talking about in terms of perfect timing. It talked about how we have more bacteria in our gut than we have cells in our body, and that so we kind of think that we're human. We have more bacterial content in our being than we do human cells. So we're really more like a carrier for all these bacteria. But I'm going to see if I can finish this thought before I read your comment, Rosalind. So, oh, now I lost it. Darn, darn, darn. Well, it'll come back. Okay, so Rosalind says, manifesting as it relates to timing, then manifestation is just an appearance. Then timing is not a manifestation of anything else. Oh, you have the greatest questions or comments, Rosalind. This is great. So manifestation is just an appearance. Well, time is just an appearance, right? Time is just a construct. Um, uh, I have all these thoughts going on in my head. I wanted to see if I could get back to what I was going to say about timing and allowing. Oh, okay, being part of a continuum. So what we were talking about, good morning, Robin, welcome, welcome. So one of the concepts that was in this movie, The Gut, Our Second Brain, was that we are made of more bacteria than we are human cells in our gut, let alone in our body, on our body, in our environments, and that there is this continuum. So there's this continuum of our biome, that we are not just this envelope that is separate from our universe, that it's actually this continuum, that we are connected to everything else, that there's no inside, there's no outside, there's no hard definition of me versus you, that it's all part of this continuum. So in the notion of perfect timing, perhaps we are coordinating collectively with this bigger unified organism that we are all a part of, and that we're not really separable. And I just thought that's a really interesting concept, especially if we start thinking about time, because time is a construct. And I don't know, now to your point, Rosalind, I don't know if in terms of the direct relationship of manifestation to timing, we were talking about quantum shifts. We've been talking about that here this week, quantum shifts, and how there's a building of energy, building, and then all of a sudden something pops into the next level of being. And I'm thinking that that can be relating also to manifestation. What we think of as a miracle is something that is not bound to the progression of time. And what I mean by that is it wouldn't be a miracle if I work and work and work. And as I work and work and work, I get success over time, right? Here's a better example. We don't consider it a miracle if you break a bone and the bone gets set, and over the course of however many weeks that bone rebuilds, right? We don't consider it a miracle because it is, we can track it on a linear timeline, right? But if we broke a bone and it healed in a day, we would consider that a miracle, or if it healed immediately, because we have transcended the linear timeline, right? So maybe manifesting is something that is transcending that linearness. It's almost like taking 2 points of time and bringing them together. This is kind of like the notion of the tesseract in A Wrinkle in Time, which was my very, very, very favorite book as a kid growing up. I don't know if you saw the movie. The movie was amazing. Let's see who was in it. Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, and this other brilliant woman director whose name I'm not remembering at the moment. So it's just such a beautiful story, and it was so beautifully done. But the book is also amazing. And so the Tesseract is the notion of talking about the fastest way from point A to point B is a linear progression, but in this notion of the tesseract, it's not. It's not the way. The fastest way is to have those points come together, and then you just step from one point to the other. And I think that that's kind of a cool explanation maybe for manifestation, right? It's not the manifestation that's an appearance as much as the timing that is an appearance. And so I don't know if you've ever had an experience. I have, where just this morning, it was really weird. It was 8:39, and then in a blink, it was 8:45. I don't know how it got to be 8:45. I don't know where those 6 minutes went. Literally, I really truly don't. It was so bizarre. And then what should have taken 15 minutes took 5. So I've had this experience sometimes when I've been traveling, or let's say this is Jewel. She's my darling. Good morning, Isabel. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about perfect timing, and also the illusion of time. And I lost my train of thought again. Okay. Oh, I know. Have you ever had the experience where you needed to be somewhere on time and you were running late and there was no way you were going to get there, and all of a sudden you got there on time? Where you don't even know how it happened, but you got there on time. I have had experiences like that, where it's almost it's like transcending our linear experience of time, where the timeline just somehow got expanded enough to give you the space that you needed to get where you needed to go. So Robin says, beautiful fur baby. Thank you. My soon to be 95-year-old mom's name is Jewel. Oh, wow, Robin. Amazing. 95. Amazing. Wow. So yes, it's because of Jewel that I was allowed to have Maggie, because Jewel grew up with a bully brother and he died. And after he died, she was like, no more pets, no more cats, no more dogs, not happening. But when Maggie came around, I asked for Jewel's permission and she gave me permission. And I think it was because their contract was a short-term contract. So now she's the star of the show again. And after having been abused by her brother most of her life, it's taken her some time to really be able to receive all the love that I give her. But it's been such a joy to be loving her. She's awesome. And she's very funny. She's a craft kitty. She loves anything having to do with creativity. She's right in the middle of it. And yeah, she's a really, really sweet girl. She's 16 this year. Anyway, timing, right? When we talk about how old, that's another really good example. When we talk about age, I've known people who were old at 25, let alone 45, let alone 95 here, Robin. So I know a friend of mine has a mother-in-law who is over 100 and is still tap dancing. So talk about age and time. I mean, it's pretty bizarre. So Robin says, I ask my angels to slow the clock down so that I arrive in time, and generally it happens. I also ask for a good parking spot. Generally I get one. Me too, Robin. And I typically am on time, and even when I end up starting out late, it's remarkable how time adjusts, and people, if we talk about time travel, there are people who are remote viewers. They're able to project themselves into other points of existence, and it turns out that they can also move through time, that they can project into different time spaces as well, which is amazing. And so time is a construct. It's not a thing that is immutable. So even Einstein said that, right? Or discovered how time is relative. And when there's an emergency, you talk about people having this experience of everything going in slow motion, right? Or in the blink of an eye, being able to see the experience of their entire lives. So wild, wild, wild. So Rosalind says, cutie Jewel, 16 years old. Yeah, how about that? So future safe self, the belief that our life has already been lived. It's natural for us to seek what we feel is missing, let go of the search, but it doesn't let go of the desire. I love that concept, Rosalind, that all of time has already happened. And this goes to one of my favorite concepts. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. So glad you made it. Robin says, there have been subtle changes over the last few months for my mom's health. I've been blessed. That's remarkable. 95. Unbelievable. My mom's going to be 92 in October, and she's been having a lot of health challenges. So how blessed to know that your mom is pretty well. That's remarkable. So Rosalind says, sage self. Okay, future sage self. I got you, rather than safe self. Beautiful. So this notion of time already existing, it's not that time already exists, it's that our lives, that everything has already happened. And so like my favorite concept that I came up with to reconcile the notion of free will and predestination, because it's like, how can we have those two ideas? And what I came up with is that there are already these existing timelines that have happened, every possibility that could have happened. Like there's some timeline where I turned into a unicorn, or I was a unicorn and turned into this. You know, there's some timeline where anything, everything has already happened. And so we're just living out those timelines. But so that's predestination, right? But where does free will come in? And what I came up with, and again, working hypothesis, I'm not saying this is true, but it works for me. So at any given moment, we have choices. And when we make a choice, we switch to potentially, you know, if that choice isn't resident on our existing timeline, we switch to a different timeline. So, and in switching to that different timeline, then there's a whole other layout of what's next. So the thing is that usually the choices that we make move us to just very subtly different timelines, at least in this moment. But every now and then there's some kind of shift of being that shifts us onto another timeline, and then there we can be jarred by a discontinuity, something that looks like a glitch on a film, for instance, where maybe several frames were skipped, you know, like a glitch in the matrix. So I've had experiences like that where I had a pair of earrings and they were both different from each other, and I always wore one in one ear and one in the other. And then there was this glitch in the matrix, and I was so convinced that I had worn the earring in the other ear. But the way the earring was designed, I knew which ear to put it in. Anyway, it was the weirdest thing, that it was so profound a glitch that I actually went to look at a photograph to verify it. But of course, if I had popped into this new timeline, it wouldn't have been a glitch in that timeline. So the photograph was the same, you know, was aligned with the existing appearance of the earrings. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it was just the weirdest thing, where it was like, wait a second, something is very different here. And my explanation is that I popped into a different timeline, and it was different enough that I noticed. Most often, those switches are not particularly dramatic, so we don't notice them. At least that's my hypothesis. It's happened on multiple occasions where there's been this glitch, you know, like where you're sure you put something somewhere and then it's not there, you know, and there's no way it couldn't be there. You know, maybe there was a glitch in the timeline and you'd put it someplace else, but you still have the memory of the old timeline. I don't know. I just, it's a cool idea to play with, whether it's whether you believe it or not. You know, it's kind of an interesting thought to entertain. Lisa says we all have soul memory, so we experience deja vus, or how we know things we have no concept of. Exactly. Well, people, the deja vu thing is also possibly a glitch in the timeline, you know, where there's a glitch in the matrix, where there's some kind of repeat. And it might be memory of a different timeline. It could be soul memory. I don't know what soul memory might be. Is that in our souls, has our soul experienced all our possible timelines? That's kind of a fun question too. Anyway, you guys are great for stimulating fun conversation. I'm so thankful to you for that. And it's another week. Go figure. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page at 9 a.m. Eastern. And that's each weekday morning, and today's Friday. So this is the end of the week, which means you get to enjoy all kinds of other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network's Facebook page, as well as Enlightened World Living and EWN One with the Earth. And in fact, this afternoon at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, I have the privilege of hosting a meditation a day. Lisa, you're going to the beach. I'm jealous. I might even do that myself. I think that's a brilliant idea. Brilliant, brilliant. I don't know what the weather is for the next couple days, but I love it. And maybe I will be able to check that out too. So have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you. Thank you. Good morning, Dido. So glad that you were here to join us. And lots and lots of love to you. Enjoy the weekend, and hopefully I will see you back here again really, really soon.